So Marina Abramovic, you're a pioneering performance artist, world-renowned, and many people will have seen you perform in The Artist is Present at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and many thousands more will have seen the film of the same name. But people don't know your life story. Why have you decided to tell us it, and why now?
I think it's really important to look a new life in some point, you know. And I think now for me this is the point, because just next month I'm getting 70, and I think it's such a huge number. I have no idea how this happened, but it's there. And I was thinking to take this memoirs more like a kind of work that I should reflect my life. I should free myself from these memories, and I don't need to remember them anymore. So it's like really changing your skin, like getting into a new body and get ready for the last period of your existence. Plus, my life has not been easy and been very difficult in so many ways. And I was thinking to share the story with young generation, especially young generation readers, regardless they are interested in art or not. Really, this book is targeted for general reader, to see if you have the will and you have determination and believe what you're doing, that is no any obstacle you could not pass.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like a very present message in your book. Like you say, it's been a very difficult life, as I suppose lots of lives are, and you've been very candid in this book. You don't feel protective of your privacy. You've told us everything.
But in my privacy, I actually have a very strong rule that don't hide anything from anybody, because eventually everybody find out the truth, and like why I should not tell the truth for the first time. And I also come from the family who always been hiding the truth. I mean, just a funny example of my grandmother in the book, when the war in Yugoslavia started, the Balkan War, my brother would go on the roof of the building and shake antenna, so that she think the television was broken. And then they say, oh no, we have to repair television. And television was broken for 4 years, so she never even knew that ever war was. Or when her only son died in a terrible car crash, my mother didn't tell her that her brother died, and she fabricated for 10 years the letters that he's in China, and read my grandmother every week one new letter. I mean, I didn't want to live in this kind of world of pretensions and hiding truths. I just wanted to, say things as I remember them, and how really things are.
And because you do talk quite frankly about your childhood and your family, and maybe that there was an absence of love in your family, especially...
It's not maybe, it was.
There definitely was, especially...
Maybe it's not negotiable, it was.
And from your mother especially, is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's all true, and it's a difficult childhood. But at the same time in the book, as the life goes, and my mother finally died, and I went to clean her apartment, and I found her diaries. And I read in these diaries the woman I didn't know, the very incredibly emotional, sensitive, full of suffering, and never showed to me any of this during the time she was alive. So I felt like if I knew just at least one page of this diary during her lifetime, my relation to her would be different, because I think she had to be hard and so inaccessible just to protect, protect us. And in a way, all her life, what she do is to make me stronger. But at the same time, she damaged me without, showing this love, because she mistaken this for actually spoiling me. One thing, I'm definitely not spoiled.
And art, in a way, as well, saved you from that, or perhaps you found art because of that, but that seemed to be the spur for you to...
But I could not say, I really don't think that art find me. I think that when you're an artist, you kind of have DNA to have artists already in the mother womb, no matter what. And I remember since childhood, regardless my situation in the family, regardless my relationship to my father, I always wanted to do art. I don't know, I was living in this world of the books and classic music and writing poetry, and I actually create my entire parallel universe, which I still have. And one thing that is very important in me, that to find a way to have always to think out of the box and to always find the way that I can do things for the first time, like seeing the world like a child. And especially when you get older, I think to go back into this curiosity of the child is the only way you can fight repetition and kind of grunginess and anger and you know, the kind of complaints, so I'm old. You know, I don't feel that.
And why performance art?
You know, for an artist it's very important from right from the beginning to find the right tool for expression. And some artists takes for a long time to do that, and takes, you know, go from one media to another media. And, you know, some, they're great painters and they like seclusion of the studio and not to expose themselves to the audience. Some people, you know, rather poets or they write wonderful books or filmmakers. But to me, when I was working first as a painter, then I started working with the sound, and through the sound I came to performance. And when I really step into the performance structure and work in front of audience, I never could forget that feeling of total electricity, of complete being possessed, being in fever, being kind of energetically wake up that I never experienced in the studio or with the painting. And I knew instantly that this is my media. I was so lucky to find this very early. But I find this media early when, you know, in the time when nobody ever believed the performance is any kind of art. They think that was total bullshit. That was not, you know, there was not even entertainment. And it was so much bad criticism, so much attacks on the performance artists those days. So, you know, it's not easy to be convinced if everybody's against you for all these years. Now we are 50 years later. I'm sitting next to you and talking about book and memoirs and being accepted. But it took 50 years, you know, it's a half of a lifetime.
You mention in the book that you didn't have children and that you chose not to have children because you were pursuing a life as an artist. And I wonder, did that feel like a sacrifice?
No. I never had the motherhood kind of feeling for the motherhood. I never had this clock, you know, biological clock. I just didn't have even, it never crossed my mind. You know, nothing like this. And I'm thinking there must be so many great mothers who have this and they should have children. I was sent to this planet for another purpose. But now I've been so crucified by this, you know. She had a true abortion. She's killing children to make art. There was posted so many, you know, Twitters of the woman in China feeding on the two tits, two children, and writing computers and say, or writing on the computer, you see, we can do it. Great for them. I could not. And I think I had the real rights to actually take my life in my own hands and do what I want. And somebody came in my defense recently and said, okay, George Clooney took 3 Oscars and didn't want to have children for the same reason, want to be married for a long time. You see, and why they never been mentioned or criticized? But because the woman, like you have some kind of the function to fulfill. I really didn't feel like doing that.
There's a line in the book, and it's you saying to the art critic Cynthia Carr, let me just check, you say, in the end, you are really alone, whatever you do. Do you still feel that way?
Yes, that's really true. Not for me, for everybody. Because, you know, you die alone and you're born alone, and nothing you can change about that. But this was when I walked the Great Wall of China and I was coming to say goodbye to Ulay after 2,500 kilometer meeting in the middle. You know, it's especially right now, you know, whatever you do, whatever you can be with person or not, you're alone on the end. You know, that loneliness is something that you have to get used to, especially if you're an artist like, you know, me. I'm really literally modern nomad, you know. I travel from place to place and do my work, and because in many ways I'm the work, so I have to go. And there's lots of lonely hotel rooms that you have to deal with. And it's fine, because satisfaction of making good work and having public who appreciate, it's huge too, you know, so you have to kind of give up something to get something else. And, you know, I just been signing the books like in Tate Modern like 15 minutes ago before I came here. And, you know, which is amazing, my public is extremely young public. The youngest kid who signed the book was 14, but everybody was under 30. And you see my generation of older women and men kind of circulating and looking at all these young kids standing in line since this morning. And my generation is just like, you know, I feel so much jealousy about this, because like you're not supposed to be happy with 70 and have good career and have this huge young audience, which I have right now. You know, before I had 10 people in the 70s, 20 was a lot, 30 was like, wow. And now it's hundreds of thousands, and that means that my work lives, and that is important to me. This is important to me more than any loneliness I experienced. It was worth it.
So life is good at 69, turning 70.
It's amazingly good. I can't believe. You know, it's my grandmother who lived 103. She said, okay, when you get 70, you're really going to enjoy, because then you've done your part. And now it's last period that every day is a miracle. And I feel every day is a miracle. And that kind of, and also you need the time to pass in your life and go through difficult periods, because you learn things. You kind of achieve some kind of wisdom state of mind, because you notice how it's going to happen. You know, you deal with reality different, and you see things as a big picture, not narrow little problem, not poor me, but you can see from up there, you know, how everything looks on this planet, and what part you're playing in this cosmic game.
Thank you very much, Marina, for speaking to us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.